Hey, welcome back to your favorite technical math class, you guys. Let's talk about our real numbers real quick. We've got these rational numbers. Real numbers are made up of rational and irrational numbers. Irrational numbers in decimal form are like pi, where in decimal form you have 3.14159, blah, 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 blah. It does not terminate, nor does it repeat. Irrational numbers do not terminate and repeat, whereas rational numbers will terminate. Like, for example, the natural numbers, the counting numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 just stops, right? Terminates. Whole numbers, same thing, they terminate. Integers, now we're including all the negatives, right? The rational numbers, you got to be able to write it in fractional form, so like 1/3. So in decimal form, that will 0.333333, it repeats a pattern, right? So irrational numbers can be written as a fraction. And so in decimal form, it'll either terminate like 2/10, 0.2, it stops, right? Terminates, or it repeats a pattern. Okay, so the real numbers are made up of rational and irrational numbers. And this is showing that these are subsets. Like the natural numbers down here are subsets of the rational numbers. In other words, like 6. 6 is a natural number, but you can write it as a fraction. That's 6/1, right? So it's a rational number as well. So 0.75, that would be an example of a rational number because it terminates, right? 0.81 repeated, that's supposed to be over that, right? That's showing that it's 0.81, 81, 81, 81, 81, and so on, right? So that's another rational number. That's 81/99, actually, is what that is. 0.81 repeated. And so that's a rational number. It doesn't terminate, but it does repeat. And then, of course, pi would be an example of an irrational number. It does not terminate, nor does it repeat a pattern, right, in decimal form. Grouping symbols. We've got three grouping symbols in math. We've got the parentheses. Parentheses are like if you're multiplying, like 6 times 7, right? We'll use parentheses oftentimes, 42. Brackets, and we got braces, and they're all used for grouping symbols. Now let's get into the main part of this section, which is rounding. Let's go ahead and round this to the nearest 10 million. So this position is the ones, right? The next one is the tens. Then we got the hundreds. And then we got thousands. And then 10,000s, 100,000s. Now we're at millions. And right there at the 7, that's our 10 million spot, right? So I'm looking at this 7. I'm rounding to that position, that 7 right there. And so I look to the number to the right, right? And I say, hey, if that number to the right is 5 or more, then I'm going to round that up, right? But the number to the right of the 7 is a 3. So I leave it the same, right? So I'm going to write this as 7,470,000,000 again, and that's because that 3 is, because it's less than 5, it stays the same. Whoops, I'm missing 3 zeros. Sorry about that. 7,470,000,000. All right, so again, you find the position that you're rounding to. I look to the right. If it's 5 or more, I'm going to bump that number up. If it's less than 5, I leave it the same. To the nearest 1,000. Okay, so ones, tens, hundreds. Here's 1,000 is where the 4 is. That's 1,000. That's 10,000. That's 100,000. So right where the 2 is. Right where the 2 is. So I look to the right of the 2. Well, what's the number to the right of the 2? 5. So if it's 5 or bigger, then do we round it up or do we leave it the same? Round it up, yeah. So 7, 4, 7, 6, and then that 2 becomes a 3. Okay, so here's our number. 10,000. Okay, so 4 is there's 1,000. 5 is the 10,000. 5 is the 10,000 position. So I look at the number to the right. It's less than 5. So we do what? Leave it the same. Yeah, round down, in other words. Yeah. Now let's go ahead and do some decimals. So I notice I have 3.141592. I got pi here. This is my tenths. 4 is my hundredths, THS. The 1 is my thousandths. The 5 is my 10,000ths. The 9 is the 100,000ths. And the 2 is the millionths. Again, TH, right? So this one, we're rounding to the nearest tenth. So that's that first position, the 10th. So I'm rounding it, see where that 1 is. That's my 10th position. So I look to the right. To the right, I have a 4. So do I round it up or leave it the same? Leave it the same because it's less than 5. That 4 is less than 5. Good. So 3.1. Again, we're just rounding it. We're approximating it to the nearest tenth, right? What if we were to approximate it to the nearest hundredth? Who's in the hundredth position? So it goes, tenth is the 1, 4 is the hundredth, right there. So we're rounding it to the second position. That makes sense? So I look to the right, and somebody said to the right I have a 1, so we do what? Leave the same. Good. 3.14. All right, let's go ahead and round this to a whole number here. So that's our ones position right there. We're going to round it to a whole number. That's our ones position. So I look to the right, and I look like I have a 9. That's bigger than 5. So this will round to 137. All right, round it to a whole number. Let's go ahead and round this to the hundreds position. Hundreds. Ones, tens, hundreds. All right, ones is the 2, tens is the 2 to the left of that. Hundreds is the 6 right there. So I look to the right. It's less than 5. So it looks like we've got 600 to the hundreds position. Now, if they ever use the word round up, that's where they're like, we don't care what it is. Forget your rules. Just round up to a whole number. So usually, if you're rounding up, you're looking at the 7, and you're looking to the right of it, the 1, right? And we would leave it 197. Again, the rules are out because they said, just round it up. Okay, we'll round it up. Whatever. 198. Make sense? All right, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.